Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farbach. This week, Ukraine's drone strikes on the Druzhba oil pipeline have disrupted Russian crude deliveries to Hungary and Slovakia, sparking warnings of potential energy shortages and a flurry of political statements from Budapest and Bratislava. Hungary's Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó called the attacks a direct assault on Hungary's sovereignty, while Slovakia highlighted risks to Ukraine's own fuel supply. We're now joined by Péter Balázs, former Hungarian Minister of Foreign Affairs, to unpack the implications of these latest events. Thanks so much for joining us here on TVP World. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Balázs, I want to start with just telling us very briefly about how significant is this pipeline and how vulnerable does that make Hungary now as a result of those recent strikes?
Well, this is the traditional pipeline which was built in the Soviet times, coming across Ukraine to several countries. And it has remained so for a few continental countries which have less alternatives, like Hungary, Slovakia, Austria as well. But after the Russian aggression against Ukraine, several countries made serious efforts to find LNG or other routes, except Hungary and perhaps Slovakia as well. Not like the Czech Republic, which has completely changed the supply sources, or the former Eastern Germany was attached to that pipeline system as well. So it has remained so. Of course, any damage of that pipeline, whether in Russia or in can make problems for the energy supply to Hungary. But I think the actual Hungarian government of Mr. Orban has overreacted this problem and has presented this supply chain as the only source for Hungary, which is not true. So this is a political maneuver of Mr. Orban, saying that with that attack, Ukraine has got the one and only possibility of Hungarian energy. This is not true. We have a pipeline to the Adriatic Sea with an interconnector in Hungary and Croatia. And there are some other opportunities as well. So this is a problem, but this is not a problem which has no solution. It has solutions.
All right. Interesting point that you said that there's alternate means. And speaking of political maneuvering, I'm curious your take. I mean, as you said, Orban is selling this as something really detrimental to his country. But let's just argue here in terms of the effect of this. If this does lead to higher energy prices, I mean, the Hungarian economy isn't doing so well. How much could this impact politically and also economically Hungary itself and Prime Minister Orban, especially if we're looking at upcoming elections in the spring?
Well, let's underline that this is not a tragedy. It can be reparated, the technical problem, the technical damage. At the same time, there are alternative solutions. So this is not ruining the Hungarian economy at all. And Hungary has other possibilities. Among others, Hungary has I think the biggest natural possibilities of stockage of gas and crude oil in the Hungarian soil, in the territory. So I don't think this would be a major problem. At the same time, it is well known that the parliamentary elections are approaching. In Hungary next spring there will be elections, and for the first time since 16 years now, Orban has a real challenger, and an emerging campaign is already underway in Hungary. Now, you should know that Orban has one main device of campaigning, and this is creating conflicts. He is creating conflicts, and then is the great defender of the nation, of the country. He has singled out for each and every campaign something or somebody like Brussels. Brussels in quotation marks, not naming the European Union, but presenting Brussels as the center of international conspiration. Then he has singled out, for instance, the migrants. You should know that no migrants come to Hungary. They avoid Hungary. They take other ways because it is well known how bad Hungarian authorities are treating the migrants. And he has one old enemy, and this is Mr. George Soros, who is of Hungarian origin and who has helped a lot all liberal movements all across the world and emerging nations. But now, for the first time, the enemy is not a symbolic one, but it's a real one. And to the great shame of this government, the main enemy is Ukraine. Give it or not, this poor country, which has been aggressed, attacked, is the main adversary of Orban, and he is campaigning. He made a referendum in Hungary against the EU accession of Ukraine, and he asked his voters to vote against any future admission of Ukraine to the European Union.
On the subject of that,
today,
I want to ask you on the subject of the European Union and Brussels, as you put it, or rather the European Commission has said that there's reserves here, roughly about 90 days left. What should the Commission do in all this at the moment? At the same time, as you said, Orban is pointing out as this is a problem, but what should the European Commission do in this latest, let's say, situation, what's going on right now with Hungary and this pipeline?
Well, Orban has addressed the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, with a letter. As far as I know, Slovakia has joined this letter. This is using the weight of the European Union and to ask Ukraine not to destroy energy supply lines which are important for some EU countries, in that case for Hungary and Slovakia. I have heard that the European Commission has done a lot in order to help and advise the member states, because it is not good politics to maintain energy supply lines across conflict areas. And now Ukraine is a country under attacks. Russia as a source of energy is also in an uncertain situation. So many other governments have changed and reconstructed, rearranged their energy mix and energy supply in view of the war situation. Not Hungary. So Hungary is insisting on the Russian connection and increasing the risk factor for the country, because energy should be purchased from sources which have minimum of risk.
Right. And indeed, as you said, the interesting point there is diversification possible, but it's a political decision that it seems that Hungary has not done that with other countries, as you mentioned that here in this conversation. Look, a fascinating topic. Thank you so much. Really appreciate all that. That was Péter Balázs, former Hungarian Minister of Foreign Affairs, with us here this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here on TVP World. There's much more coming up, so stay tuned. Goodbye.